is the big department store Selfridges, and that's been around for a long time. Mr. Selfridge first opened his business back in the very late 1800s. And one thing that was very revolutionary about Selfridges is the way he displayed his goods, because the Victorians used to find it very vulgar to display your goods in a shop window. That was something the Victorians never did. And then Mr. Selfridge came along. Obviously he had a very different attitude coming from the United States of America, and he was like, no, we've got to display our goods in shop windows. He did so, and of course he had these beautiful displays which were incredibly popular. And of course Selfridges, a thriving business, still going well to this day. It's over on our left hand side. You can see the flags flying above the department store there. So we're going to move up to Marble Arch now. You're going to start to see Marble Arch just ahead of us and slightly to the left. And Marble Arch was designed by a man called John Nash and built back in 1827. But this wasn't the original place it used to stand. It used to be found at the front entrance of Buckingham Palace. But Queen Victoria, she didn't like it very much. She decided it wasn't grand or imposing enough to be the front entrance to a royal palace. So she requested that it be moved. Now, the politicians at the time, they weren't too pleased about this because it was going to be a very costly project to move the arch, so her request was denied. Now, the way she got round this was she then had a royal coach built that was too wide to fit through the arch. She presented her new coach to the politicians, who were suitably impressed, and she said, well, the problem is, it doesn't fit through the arch. You're going to have to move it now. Her request was granted, and the arch was taken down brick by brick and placed where we see it today, back in 1851. So we're driving down Park Lane now, and if you love cars, look to your left. You've got the Aston Martin showroom. I've got a few more tours to do before I pop in there and pick up my DV. Now, Park Lane is famous for its luxury 5-star hotels, and we've got a very famous hotel coming up on the left now. It's called the Grosvenor House Hotel. Now, the Grosvenor was opened back in the 1920s, and it was the first London hotel to have an indoor swimming pool. It's also one of the largest hotels in central London. They used to have an ice rink inside the Grosvenor House Hotel, and that's where the late Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, learned to ice skate when she was a little girl. Got another very famous hotel coming up on the left. You're about to see the Dorchester. Now, the Dorchester was opened in 1930, and it's currently owned by the Sultan of Brunei. Now, the Dorchester was a very popular place for many of the big Hollywood actors and actresses to stay whenever they're in town. We always know when somebody very famous or important is staying at the Dorchester, because you'll see a few paparazzi photographers hanging out outside waiting to get those exclusive shots. Now, the Dorchester has got quite a royal connection, because this is where the impending marriage between Princess Elizabeth and Prince Philip was first announced back in 1947. Also in the same year in the Dorchester, Prince Philip had his bachelor party or stag night in there. Now, not only can you buy fancy cars here in Park Lane, you can buy jets as well. Look to your left, you've got the jet business. If anyone fancies getting themselves a private jet, well, now you know where to go. Like I say, you can buy some pretty impressive things here in Park Lane. Also, look over your left-hand shoulders. You've got the London Hilton Hotel. That's one of the tallest hotels in central London. Originally, when they were building the hotel, they planned for the tower to be a lot taller than what it is today. But when it was under construction, they got a complaint from the most important lady in the country, and that was the late Queen. And she said, basically, if the tower was to go any higher, the people in the top suites would have a direct view into the rooms of Buckingham Palace. Now, to avoid these top suites being permanently rented out by paparazzi photographers, the tower was capped at the height that it is today, which was definitely for the best. So, back down onto the Duke of Wellington Arch now. We've got the arch right in front of us, the arch built to commemorate the Duke of Wellington's victory at the Battle of Waterloo in 1850. So you're going to see Constitution Hill, and you see the Constitution gates there, and they have all the names of all the Commonwealth countries on. Walk down that road, that takes you down to the front entrance of Buckingham Palace. Also on your left, got a royal park here, that's Green Park, and Green Park is actually the smallest of the royal parks. Now there's an interesting and funny story connected to Green Park, because the reason it's called Green Park is there are no formally planted flower beds inside there. Of course that's very unusual for any park, let alone a royal park. Now one of the reasons why there are no planted flowers inside the park is because a few hundred years ago we had a bit of a naughty king. He was called King Charles II. Now one day King Charles II was strolling around the park with his wife, the Queen. And the Queen said to him, "I'd like you to pick a flower and give it to the most beautiful lady in the park." Now she closed her eyes, she opened out her hand and she waited for a flower to appear. Well, she waited and waited and waited some more, and the flower didn't appear. So she opened her eyes and she saw that her husband, King Charles II, had picked a flower but given it to another lady in the park. Could you imagine how she felt about that? She was furious. So she ordered the royal gardeners to pull all the flowers out of the park, and they've never been planted back there since. I think he got off quite lightly, really.
She put up with an awful lot. He had 40 mistresses. 40? Sure, nothing like a bit of blue blood, is there?
It's now over on our left-hand side, the largest private gardens in London. If you look to your left now, you'll see lots of people coming out of the gate here at the gardens, and the reason being is because Buckingham Palace is open to the public at the moment. Anyone can go inside there, have a little look around, of course once you've paid your money. And if you go in there, you can visit the staterooms, the reception rooms, dining rooms, banqueting halls, music room. I mean, the list goes on and on. And you can finish off your visit to the palace with a stroll through the gardens, which are absolutely beautiful. Now, I was very lucky. A fair few years ago now, I was given a ticket to go inside there the day before it opened to the public. It was a trade day. I wasn't going in there to get a knighthood or anything like that. And I will be very honest with you, I wasn't actually that excited about it. I was going, yeah, Buckingham Palace, all right. Anyway, I kid you not, I walked into the palace and my jaw hit the floor. It was beautiful. It was stunning. It was exactly how I imagined a real working royal palace to be. Thoroughly enjoyed it, recommend it to everyone. Unfortunately, when I got back to my little flat in North East London, things just didn't seem quite the same, but I was kind of born into the wrong family. But if you do have the chance, try to visit Buckingham Palace, you'll enjoy it. It stays open till the middle of September. Look over to your left now, we've got these red brick buildings here. These are called the Grace and Favour apartments. These are the apartments which the staff of Buckingham Palace live. One of the perks of getting a job with the royal family is you get accommodation thrown in as well. Now, on a normal day in Buckingham Palace, when there's just the royal family to be looked after, well, they have a skeleton staff of 53 to look after all their needs. But on a big occasion, like a state visit or a huge royal banquet, they have over 300 staff to look after all the guests. But imagine that though, having 53 people to look after you every day. I tell you, it's a good thing I'm not the King of England, otherwise I'd become the laziest man in the world. I do have to be fair here though, these 53 people aren't just there to get the royal family out of bed in the morning. This is like personal secretaries, administrative staff and many other different roles. The royal family, they're more like a company than a family, need a lot of people to keep the whole thing moving. Well, back in familiar territory now, back to Victoria. Victoria Railway Station, that opened back in the 1850s. Of course, Little Ben over on our right-hand side, Big Ben's little brother. Well, Pimlico, I suppose, as far as London goes, is quite a new area. It first got developed in 1825. The architect Thomas Cubitt was given the job of developing the area. Now, at that time, this was all marshland round here, because obviously we've got the River Thames at the bottom of Vauxhall Bridge Road, and this area wasn't really fit for purpose for building, so they had to reclaim the land. And the way they did this was, at the time in 1825, they were digging out St Catherine's Dock down next to the Tower of London. So they were digging out, they were dredging there, and obviously making it able to have ships going inside there. And so what they did was all the earth that they dredged from the bottom of the river, they put it in barges and they sailed it up the River Thames into the area of Pimlico.